that is judgment. We live in a culture where everybody seems to have an opinion about everybody else. Everybody has a comment. Everybody has a criticism. Everybody has an explanation. And everybody knows what somebody else should have done. And everybody knows what somebody else should have said. And everybody knows why somebody else failed. But as Malachi read in James, it mentions how James came along and asked us a question that ought to make every one of us stop and examine our own hearts. Who art thou that judgest another? James 4, verse 11 through 12 says, as Malachi read, speak not evil one of another, brethren. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judges his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgest the law. But if thou judgest the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. And there is one lawgiver who is able to save and destroy. Who art thou that judgest another? Today, James is not playing with us. He is dealing with something serious that some of us and each of us have dealt with at one point or another. Because when we are constantly judging other people, we are doing more than criticizing them. We are putting ourselves in a position that only belongs to God. James says there is only one lawgiver. Not two, not three, not you, and not me. There's one. And then he asks, who art thou that judgest another? In other words, who gave you the seat? Who gave you the authority? Who gave you the complete story? Who gave you the ability to see somebody else's heart? Who gave you the right to determine their final destination? Because there is only one who can see everything. There is only one who knows everything. And there is only one who sees the heart. There is only one who knows the beginning and the end, and his name is God. God is the only lawgiver. As James 4 and 12 says, there is only one lawgiver. So let's begin there. Before James talks about judgment, he establishes who God is. God is the lawgiver. God establishes the standard. God defines righteousness. God determines what is holy. God determines what is sin. God determines what is right. And because God is the lawgiver, we are not permitted to rewrite his standard according to our preferences. Isaiah 33 and 22 declares, for the Lord is our judge. The Lord is our lawgiver. The Lord is our king. He will save us. Look at those three descriptions: judge, lawgiver, and king. God has the authority. God has the sovereignty. And God has the final word. And here's where the problem starts to begin. That sometimes we know God's word, but we begin acting as though we are the ones who get to determine the value and the destiny of other people. We move from God's word and what it says in his word to thinking, and then our opinion becomes the standard. But church, today I want to say your opinion is not God's throne. Your feelings are not God's law. Your experiences are not God's word. Your past is not God's authority. God is God. And there's a difference between discernment and judgment. Now, somebody may say, well, Pastor, are you saying we're never supposed to judge anything? No. The Bible teaches us discernment. Jesus himself said in Matthew 7 and 16, ye shall know them by their fruits. Jesus is teaching us that fruit reveals something about a person's life. In John 1, 1 John